Within the span of the past year and a half, I have filmed 16 reviews of various cars, some being a bit more entertaining to film than others. But still, it's exciting to check out a car's personality regardless of what it is. As far as this list goes, I'm going to be counting down the top 5 vehicles I had the most fun reviewing, or the vehicles I was the most excited to review, while giving a bit of a background on the vehicle itself. Quick disclaimer, this list is not aligned with the 5 highest scoring numerical vehicles on the Lemon List scale, rather it is solely based on my personal preference. Also, the only vehicle I am excluding from this list is my 2004 Ford F-150 Lariat, since it is my own personal vehicle and that would be a bit unfair to the others. So without further delay, let's get to it. Number 5, 2016 BMW M235i. Starting at number 5 on the list is the 2016 BMW M235i. This vehicle belongs to my great friend and editor Omer, whose name will appear multiple times throughout this list. Omer also stars in 3 podcasts on my channel as well, so feel free to check those out. Omer is a huge BMW fanatic, and I distinctly remember him purchasing the M235i, awing my fellow friends with its flashy estro blue color and untamed power. Happily accepting his generous offer to review his new ride, Omer drove over to our designated filming location, fittingly 20 minutes before NJ weather struck, and it promptly started pouring. I remember skeptically looking at the clouds nearby, scurrying to film the exterior portions of the video before all hell broke loose. Towards the latter part of the video, during the interview section, you can even see lightning strike as I attempt to shout over the rain pelting on the roof a few inches above us. And as I mentioned in the video, the M235 is to this day the fastest car I've ever driven, and that was when this car was stock. Since the video was published on March 18th, Omer has tinted the windows, installed the 3-tier tune so it goes even faster, and added a plethora of carbon fiber modifications to enhance the exterior design. Definitely one of my favorite cars I've ever reviewed though. Number 4, 2011 BMW 535i. Number 4 on the list is the 2011 BMW 535i, which belonged to Omer's father, who recently traded in for a pretty pre-owned BMW X3. Nonetheless, there's a few reasons as to why this Beamer was so special to me. One of the biggest factors was that it was the first high-tier vehicle I ever reviewed. Before the 535i, I had only reviewed 4 basic vehicles: a Honda Pilot, a Honda Accord, a Ford F-150, and a Volkswagen Passat. When I stepped into the 535i, I was simply impressed. See, before I actually physically encountered and played with the Beamer, I always thought of them as kind of generic, slightly overhyped vehicles that were luxurious, but not as awing as everybody perceived them to be. But as the filming progressed, and I finally got behind the wheel of this thing, I distinctly recall myself giggling excitedly like a toddler going down the slide for the first time at the playground, shortly after I put the car in sport mode. Being a strong fan of American trucks, this car truly introduced me to the world of German luxury sedans, and I stand firmly by my testament that I would definitely consider a Beamer as a potential daily driver in the long run. This car was the king of the Lemon List for a short period of time, and it rightfully deserved the crown for the time it was held. Moreover, this was the first video I filmed with Omer, creating some of the first memories of a strong friendship established upon the basis of cars. Before this year I barely knew Omer, and this video definitely catalyzed many memories to be made, which I will forever be thankful for. Number 3, 2018 Toyota Tundra. At the midpoint of this list is the 2018 Toyota Tundra. This behemoth belongs to a family I am very close to, and I was ultimately baffled when they asked me if I wanted to review their 2018 Tundra, which they had purchased just a week beforehand. I honestly don't know if I was more flattered or befuddled that they trusted me with this thing, as I honestly think I got to drive it before their own children did. So, gratefully accepting the offer at hand, me and my friend Haley filmed in the parking lot of our elementary school as I excitedly analyzed every possible aspect of the truck. Ironically, my mom highly speculated purchasing one of these in 2015, as I painfully reminded myself of what could have been. I really would have loved to have punched this monster on the highway, but alas, I drove uber cautiously in fear of potentially wrecking my friend's exclusive new ride. Though the tech is kind of outdated in the Tundra, this was easily one of my favorite reviews to have done. Number 2, 2004 Dodge Ram 1500. Moving to the 2 spot on the list is the 2004 Dodge Ram 1500. This big ol' Ram belongs to my buddy Jeff, as we filmed this video in the beginning of December, as I vividly remember freezing my ass off in a shirt and tie on a crisp mid-30s New Jersey afternoon. In the very beginning of the video you can actually see snow flurries falling as I give my trunk spiel, just to prove my point. Still, as I previously mentioned, I am a small fanatic when it comes to pickups, and I was giddily awaiting a potential date to review the Ram. Formerly an owner of a Civic, I remember Jeff offering me a ride to school the day after he purchased the truck before I had my license or my truck, and remembering the awesome sound of the 5.7-liter Hemi V8 as we thundered down the back roads on a cold November morning. This was also the first pickup I got to drive after purchasing my 2004 Ford F-150, and it was awesome to compare the driving experience and handling between the two trucks. And as I have mentioned in multiple videos, including the review, if I didn't buy a Ford, I would have definitely chosen a Ram, for Dodge engines are so damn powerful. Shortly after we filmed, we drove to Chick-fil-A to meet with some friends, as I awkwardly perused into the eatery with a shirt and tie, fitting in perfectly with a flock of teenagers in the group beside me. After some greasy fried chicken, Jeff took a turn to driving the F-150, comparing the Ram to a Ford as I previously did myself. From one truck owner to another, it was just a great vehicle to review. Number 1. 2008 Mercedes-Benz S550. And number 1 is easily the 2008 Mercedes-Benz S550. I don't think I've ever been more excited yet nervous to pilot a vehicle before, as this was one of the most expensive vehicles available on a dealer's used car lot. My friend Omer hooked me up with this vehicle as well, requesting a friend of his who owned a dealership in Easton, Pennsylvania called Butler Autos for me to review a 2008 S-Class sitting in his lot. I remember the feeling of excitement that overcame me upon confirmation that I'd be reviewing an S-Class, and this prestigious piece of machinery would be also the first Mercedes-Benz that I ever got to drive. When I arrived in Easton, I met Omer in the lot and was introduced to the owner of Butler, and graciously took the keys of an expensive Landau to review somewhere down the road. Since Omer wanted to drive the S-Class as well, we agreed to let him drive to the filming location so he too could get a taste of the vehicle's driving capabilities. But before we could do so, we realized that the S-Class had about a half a gallon of gas in the tank, and that we needed to find a gas station nearby before any filming could possibly be done. So the two of us drove to a mobile station that was a few blocks from the dealership, and pulled up to an empty bay. As we put the S-Class in park, we skeptically look around at some of the beaters a few other customers at this mobile station were driving, eyeing the opulent S-Class that had just pulled into the station. The two of us sat there for a couple minutes, and awkwardly wondered why the gas station got suddenly quiet. At that moment in time, our two dumb asses forgot we were in Pennsylvania, and realized that we needed to actually pump our own gas. So, here we were, two 17-year-olds standing in the middle of a slightly sketchy gas station, one donning a shirt and tie, with a near $90,000, while new, Mercedes-Benz sedan. It was quite the sight. So, Omer graciously dumped $20 worth of premium into the tank of the S-Class, and we were off. Being that Easton is a relatively crowded city, our first destination was a lot of a Kmart right off the highway, but as we quickly realized, the road noise would make for a rather annoying video, and the three dudes cutting the grass 6 feet in front of us probably wouldn't help either. If you were to pay close attention, the images used in the scoring section are in the Kmart parking lot, but the actual video was filmed in an empty corner of a dilapidated tennis court lot off the side of the highway. Also in the video, if you look out into the distance behind the open crevices in the trees, you will see a massive cup on top of an old building. That is the site of the abandoned Dixie Cup factory, which is an interesting eyesore for all commuters which pass by Easton. And then after the physical review, it was time to drive the S-Class. See, in most of my videos, the driving section is usually filmed on the local backroads of my area. However, this vehicle was filmed in a rather crowded area of Pennsylvania on a humid Saturday afternoon, so there was a plentiful amount of traffic for me to weave through. And this was my very first time driving a land yacht. For those of you who have never driven a full-size land yacht, let me give you a generic rundown. Imagine a sedan as wide as a full-size pickup truck, with slow acceleration but strong momentum once at speed, with a wide turning radius, minimal road noise, and seats the size of a recliner. Essentially, it's like driving a boat. This thing though, it feels like a boat. After a stressful yet exciting 10-minute journey of feeling like the richest man on the road, the review was unfortunately over, and then I had to speed home to make it to work on time. Nonetheless, the S-Class was easily my favorite car of the 16 that I've reviewed.